One of the interesting things for me about these two taking on board these two characters is, of course, Alma Rattenbury was a real person with her own history, and a lot of research can be done on that, and we can make choices about that, how much we want to make that a real person, you know, who went through this real story, coupled with the knowledge now that we have that Edith is complete fiction and is Rattigan's choice of how he wanted to make dramatic the story of Alma Rattenbury and to play these two women opposite each other. And we know also that in many ways Edith in some ways represented Rattigan's own mother, who he clearly had a very, very strong relationship with. So for me, that dramatically, structurally, that's one of the really interesting things about the play and how we put those two women alongside each other. I don't know how you feel, what to say, whether Edith's story is as tragic as Alma's, even though it's obviously it's the one that's much less known.
Yes. I suppose what I think is that both characters, I mean, it's so difficult to make pronouncements at this point in rehearsal, but I think that both characters, both of these women, are trying to be true to themselves. How much they know of themselves, I don't know for Alma, but I feel that Edie discovers a lot about herself and about life through the play, and she's changed through the play, through making contact, you know, having a relationship, although it's not direct. She has a relationship with Alma, and her life is absolutely influenced by what happens during this trial. And actually, I'm not sure yet whether I think it's a tragic ending for Edie. She certainly loses everything she thought she had, but it may be a shedding of a skin, and maybe a phoenix will rise. I don't know. But I think certainly she loses a lot, and I don't like making comparisons there.
No, but do they feel like negatives of each other? Do you know what I mean? Like the flip side of each other. Does that feel?
I think they're
right?
Both women who have complicated notions of intimacy, and that means they're very similar in lots of ways because they behave inappropriately with people they love. They're both wives, they're both mothers, and not the healthiest of versions of those at times. So in a way, I think it's just simplistic to say, oh, she's sexually liberated and she's not. I think it's much more complicated than that. I think they are constrained by the time in which they live for very different and with very different results. And I think as they are females, they find themselves defined within the play as being a certain type of woman. And that's what's so great about his writing in terms of the period, you know, and I think that's what's set up really well in the story. But I think it's kind of unfair to Rattigan to say, oh, she's the hottie and she's the naughty. I think, you know, there's more to it than that. I think it's more oblique, which is why at the end of the play, we don't know, is Alma's a tragedy really, or is Edie's a tragedy really, you know? I think it's more oblique, and that's better. That's best writing.